A program designed to curb the flow of guns from the United States into Mexico gained national attention in Arizona when it was revealed that some of the weapons that government agents were using to track gun runners were lost, simply disappeared. Now Local 2 investigators learned that congressional leaders are asking questions about a gun trafficking investigation that was conducted right here in Houston, and a large local gun dealer is at the center of it all. Investigator Robert Arnold has the federal fallout over a Houston program known as Gunrunner that some lawmakers are calling reckless and ill-advised.
Congressional leaders probing what has been called a reckless gun smuggling investigation in Arizona.
It got people killed.
Now asking questions about an investigation in Houston.
I think that the ATF dropped the ball.
According to testimony before the House Oversight Committee, the plan dubbed Fast and Furious in Arizona was to allow Mexican drug cartel recruits to buy guns, and then ATF agents would follow those buyers to the cartels. With this information, the ATF would be able to stop the flow of U.S. guns into Mexico. But a congressional report shows hundreds of the guns slipped through the cracks. Some wound up in Mexico, some at crime scenes in the United States. Many more have not been found. The committee's report shows Fast and Furious ended when guns that were part of the operation were found at the murder of Border Patrol agent Brian Terry.
Who authorized this program?
Now congressional leaders want to know if similar problems happened in Houston under an operation known as Gunrunner.
The ATF agents encouraged them to go through with the sale.
Attorney Dick DeGuerin represents the largest independent gun dealer in our region, Carter's Country. DeGuerin says starting in 2006, Houston ATF agents asked Carter's Country for help. Essentially, give the ATF a call when a suspicious person with a pocket full of cash tries to buy several guns at once. DeGuerin referred to this as a stall and call.
Stall the purchaser, call the ATF, let an agent come out and watch the sale so they could follow.
DeGuerin says store employees alerted the ATF to 16 suspicious gun buys.
Did the ATF always show up?
No, they didn't.
DeGuerin claims there were at least 6 times agents did not show up when store employees alerted the ATF to a suspicious gun buyer. Yet, DeGuerin claims the ATF still told employees to let the sales go through.
So they went ahead and went through with the sale, reported it, and who knows what happened.
As a result of Operation Gunrunner, multiple people were arrested and convicted of buying guns in Houston for the cartels. However, in a criminal investigation, ATF agents wrote a routine audit of gun sales showed weapons bought at Carter's Country before the Gunrunner operation started were found at murders and shootouts in Mexico. Carter's Country was only mentioned as helping the ATF with one gun buy. DeGuerin denies all of that and says Carter's Country kept helping the ATF up until last year.
Well, they got notified that they were under investigation, and that's what pulled the plug.
DeGuerin says despite years of cooperation, Carter's Country suddenly became the target of an investigation by the U.S. Attorney's Office. Company employees accused of conspiring with cartel-funded gun buyers.
I don't believe the ATF agents involved, or even their supervisors, were being honest with the U.S. Attorney's Office.
DeGuerin showed us records he says prove Carter's Country let the ATF know about all 16 suspicious gun purchases.
On each and every one of them, we had the date and time and the manner in which the ATF had been notified.
DeGuerin says after handing over those records to the U.S. Attorney's Office, the investigation against Carter's Country was dropped.
They tried to cooperate with ATF. It got them nothing except attorney's fees and tarnished reputation.
ATF officials declined our request for an on-camera interview, but this morning I sat down with officials from ATF's Houston office who were adamant the tactics being questioned in Arizona never happened here. Houston ATF officials added Carter's Country has always been a cooperative partner against gun trafficking, but admits that relationship soured after the investigation. We did receive a brief written statement reading in part, "We have never knowingly allowed firearms to be diverted to Mexico." Robert Arnold, KPRC Local 2.
And there's more. The owner of Carter's Country and his attorney, Dick DeGuerin, were asked to travel to Washington, D.C. to provide information to the Government Oversight Committee about what happened here in Houston. So after that meeting, a committee spokesperson sent a statement to Local 2 reading in part, "What happened in Houston was an egregiously reckless act. Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley, also on that oversight committee, sent a separate statement reading, ATF's actions in Houston and Phoenix were reckless and ill-advised. Local 2 Investigates was first to tell you about accusations that a controversial plan let guns get into the hands of suspicious buyers in Houston. It was a secret plan that involved the federal government and the largest gun seller in our area.
As investigator Robert Arnold learned, a key U.S. senator is now demanding answers into how it all unfolded and if there was any risk.
Texas Senator John Cornyn sent a letter today to U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder asking for all information related to a Houston area gun trafficking investigation. Cornyn joins other congressional leaders questioning whether risky investigative tactics inadvertently allowed guns bought in our area to make it into the hands of Mexican drug cartels. Last week, Local 2 Investigates showed you how the largest gun dealer in our region, Carter's Country, accused the ATF of trying to track down smugglers by allowing questionable gun sales to go through. The investigation was done under the auspices of an ATF initiative called Gunrunner.
The ATF agents encouraged them to go through with the sale.
In the letter sent to Attorney General Holder, Senator Cornyn stated, I write to express my deep concerns regarding press reports of an ATF gun walking program that allegedly operated in the state of Texas. Cornyn asks for an immediate briefing on the Texas operation. Senator Cornyn's inquiries grew out of congressional hearings scrutinizing an ATF operation in Phoenix dubbed Fast and Furious. Testimony before the House Oversight Committee accuses the ATF of allowing Mexican drug cartel recruits to buy weapons so agents could then follow those buyers back to the cartels. A congressional report states hundreds of weapons that were part of the Phoenix operation are either missing or found at crime scenes in the United States and Mexico. The Houston operation netted the arrest and conviction of more than 20 people buying guns for the cartels. However, court records show guns bought in Houston still wound up at crime scenes in Mexico. Cornyn is now asking whether the tactics being scrutinized in Arizona were also used here, writing, my constituents deserve a full accounting of any such activities in Texas. ATF officials in Houston told us the tactics being scrutinized in Arizona were absolutely not used here. Houston ATF officials say the guns bought in Houston and found in Mexico were already across the border before the Bureau even began its investigation. And the illicit buyers were found through a routine audit of gun sales. The attorney for Carter's Country, Dick DeGuerin, flatly denies the ATF's claims.
Tonight, Local 2 investigates a Houston gun trafficking operation. Another Houston area gun dealer is accusing the U.S. government of risky tactics involving local stores in an attempt to keep American guns out of the hands of the Mexican cartels.
Now, what we've uncovered has prompted a growing list of questions from a Texas senator who now says that he's frustrated by a lack of answers. Local 2 investigator Robert Arnold has the very latest information on this widening investigation.
The plan was to stop guns bought in the U.S. from getting into the hands of the Mexican drug cartels.
It got people killed.
That plan by Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms agents in Arizona was to allow cartel recruits to purchase weapons so agents could then follow the buyers back to the cartels. Congressional reports state hundreds of the guns disappeared, winding up at crime scenes on both sides of the border and at the murder of Border Patrol agent Brian Terry. The operation was called Fast and Furious.
I believe, based on what we know now, that Fast and Furious did extend to Texas.
Senator John Cornyn started asking questions about what happened in Houston after Local 2 Investigates uncovered allegations by one of the largest independent gun dealers in our area. Carter's Country accused the ATF of allowing questionable gun sales to go through during an initiative called Gunrunner.
They simply have just stonewalled us. I am beyond frustrated.
The ATF adamantly denies ever asking Carter's Country to allow questionable buyers to walk away with guns. Did the ATF ask you to allow questionable gun sales to go through?
Yes, I did. They definitely did on 2 different occasions.
Bill James owns the Arms Room, a gun store and shooting range in League City. James says ATF agents and investigators gave his staff tips on how to spot people who may be buying guns for the drug cartels.
The picture I got from the ATF was to, yes, go ahead and make the sale. Do the deal and then get all the information you can get so that we can track this.
ATF officials here in Houston say they never asked any gun dealers to go ahead with questionable sales. If that happened, then ATF officials say the gun dealers here must have misunderstood what they were being asked to do.
There was no misunderstanding. They were condoning the questionable sales with the purpose, as they intended, as I understood they intended, to track these sales across the border.
In a written statement to Local 2 Investigates, an ATF spokesperson writes, ATF personnel cannot affirmatively advise a firearms dealer to sell a firearm, adding, ATF's conversation with Mr. James was the same as with all dealers. If you have buyers you suspect are firearms traffickers, call us and we'll look into it.
None of this makes me feel good. No one should be under the misapprehension that we're going to let this go.
Cornyn says the latest allegations by James have now given him even more questions. Robert Arnold, KPRC Local 2.
Now, Local 2 Investigates also obtained a letter sent to Senator Cornyn by the Justice Department. Federal officials state that they are still reviewing the allegations about what happened in Texas. Justice Department officials added that the U.S. Attorney General has made it clear that, quote, the flawed tactics used in Operation Fast and Furious are impermissible.